Hello, how's it going? Forgive the poor lighting. It looks like I have a halo over my head, so you have to believe everything I say. Um, I'll give a quick update. I'm spending some time at my parents' house with my dad, and the fridge died, so there's a ton of like rotten food that has to be thrown out. Um, and by ordering anything anymore, it takes days upon days to get anything delivered. So we're just gonna have to be eating fruit and pasta for the next few days, at least until I've left here. So anyway, that's that. So I'm gonna continue doing these videos about the poem "If" by Rudyard Kipling, and the first one I did the last video, so the second one, which is the next two lines of the poem, I think are worth talking about. Some of these I've never really thought about in a deep way, so it's fun to just pick apart something that you really enjoy. Um, so anyway, so the line is, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. So to me, this is talking about self-confidence. You should really get yourself into a position where you can trust your faculties, think the right things, to come up with good answers, plans, etc. Um, so you have to have had some experience knowing that you're a capable person, to make decisions, and a lot of people tend to doubt themselves when they make decisions, um, typically because they either don't have self confidence, they have somebody nagging at them and sort of clouding their judgment, um, with just noise, you know. Um, so you have to get yourself in the position where you feel confident enough to make these decisions. It's especially true when you have people around you who think they know better than you, which is always going to be the case. Always somebody thinks you're an idiot or that they know better than you, and they want you to do what you what they they want you to do. Um, and so people will control you. And you just have, they'll try to control you at least, and you have to have the confidence in your abilities and the choices that, um, you want to go on, or the choices of, the direction or the path that you want to go on. And ultimately, it's your path, not theirs. You have final say in everything. So it's important to remember that you have to pay the price when everything goes sour. Anybody who's trying to control you, and usually they don't have to pay the price for their bad, um, advice. So just remember that anybody who's nagging in your ears, you don't have to worry about like the bad consequences of their terrible advice. So you have to remember that you have the confidence to do something. You also have to remember that you've taken into account every possible situation where this could go bad. Um, so the second line says, "Make allowance for their doubting too." So, this is sort of like the other side of the coin, is that remember that you can make mistakes, and any criticism you have or advice that you have, these are their doubting, so they're sort of critiquing your plan. The thing is that you can use criticism as a feedback. I often think about, feedback forms, you see in businesses. Some place where I worked that has a, customer input, uh, had these feedback forms, and I remember going through them, and most of them were garbage. It was just absolute waste of time, because they're either just there that they didn't get their way, or you're complaining about silly things, or um, most of it was not constructive. There's nothing you could really do anything about. It was just something that you just like, all right, maybe one out of 20 was like, you know, I had to wait a long time, and you guys should be up front in the shop. Okay, I got it. Right? You have to have a presence on the shop floor, or something along those lines, where the customer feels like you've either wasted their time, wasted their money, or disrespected them. Those are important. Okay, everything else is nonsense. It's just like, you were open too late, or you didn't open up early enough. Like, oh God, whatever. Those are the hours. They've always been the hours. They're always going to be the hours until something really drastically changes. We're just going to leave it at that and throw away these suggestions. Um, so, that sometimes people might actually be right and you might be wrong. And it's important to remember that. So don't be so arrogant to think that you know everything. You don't. And other people can be wise, and they're just offering you their advice in the form of doubt. Are you sure you want to do this? It's sort of a polite way of saying, "What the hell's wrong with you, you idiot? Don't do that." um, and so it would be wise of you to take their feedback as something to explore, possibly. Maybe to second guess. Sometimes second guessing an impetuous decision is probably a good thing. But you have to have the ability to recognize when you're right and they're wrong. Um, or you have to recognize the ability that, hey, I might be wrong about this. I didn't think about that. And when it's not clear either way that you're right and they're wrong, or they're right and you're wrong, you kind of have to think about, maybe I should just play the odds, follow my gut when everything else is not working out, or not really informing your decision. And remember that it might not be a life and death decision, and you might just be following your desires. It depends on the outcomes of your decision. If we're deciding where to go for dinner, who cares? We have a bad meal, it's not the end of the world. But if you're deciding maybe international policy with belligerent countries, it might be a little bit more interesting to think about people with alternative opinions. So, remember that following, in the cases somewhere in between that, following and you don't know the likely outcomes, then you have to remember that following your desires and possibly your instincts might be the best thing you can do. That's probably because if you've had past success trusting your instinct, future success, not guaranteed, but it's probably, that you have good instincts. And you should probably follow those instincts. You're not always going to be right, but you know that you've had success trusting yourself, so you know that you're not a complete idiot or a complete fool. Um, and don't worry about, you can worry about the consequences, but don't let it don't let being wrong stop you from doing anything. you know that you'd rather just have positive outcomes than and be wrong. I'd rather have a lot of money and be wrong about something, and then just own up, but then have to be right and have it cost me millions of dollars. So on the other hand, you shouldn't take too big of a risk without really thinking it over, and then listening to advice, soliciting advice, or listening to unsolicited advice. I think either one is pretty, you kind of got what you got, and you need to understand that some advice is just being crappy to you, and some advice is actually, people are worried about you. So anyway, um, that's about all I have for that. Um, I will continue with this. This is actually kind of fun. It makes me pick apart the meaning of this. That this, as I said in the last video, this is life advice from Rudyard Kipling to his son. So I think this is advice for anyone. And I guess that's why the poem has lasted for well over 100 years at this point. So Anyway, I will see you soon. Toodaloo.